as a result of doing some of these drills? What are you noticing?
Coordination.
Yeah, what about it?
You kind of need it to kind of to keep going, that type of thing, like with the back and forwards one, you kind of not really look at your feet, but just keep them right out, or just see how to kind of trust yourself.
There's a level of challenge there, isn't there? Can you think maybe how you maybe miss volleys and that as well? And the, you know, like that footwork component?
Yeah.
So I'd say if you want to be a good tennis player, it's impossible if you don't know your setup leg. Alright, so if we look at probably, I'd say Ball was the main guy who opened the stance up. So when we opened the stance up, what happened is we realised that we can hit via this through the trunk. Prior to that, can I have a stick for a minute? Prior to that, tennis was pretty much played with a single grip, and it was very much what's called linear. Alright? But can you see my rear hip there? It's actually locked. Whereas when I do this, can you see my rear hip now? It's able to fully extend. So the guys who are just playing medicine ball, you're sort of learning to hit with your legs, but your legs are just continuous with your trunk. So whether it's a volley or a ground stroke, if we're not sure of this pattern, so I'm setting up here and then I've got my actual line that I'm following, or if I'm doing it here, and this is again for ground strokes with your two sticks. So my ability to get here, can you see what my left arm's doing? Can you see someone come and push that front stick? Is that strong?
Yeah.
So that's got to be strong because that's the whole way that this racket is able to come through. So where my left shoulder gets to does two things. It determines my backswing and it determines the movement of this leg, creating the racket head speed. So this shoulder is talking to this hip on a diagonal. Okay? Very, very important. On your volley, your left hand, the job of the left hand is you bring it to the ball so that you can be at contact point here. And this is all verified by slow motion footage of the top players. So they actually volley, they create their forces via that action through the leg. So it's not, in other words, it's not stop and do that, okay? That's a fluid, and then I'm into my next action. Does that all make sense? Now all I did with these, I went to Bunnings and got a wood splitter and sawed it in half. Alright, because I just, any heavier than this it would be too heavy, so we don't want it too heavy. But for those of you who have used the sticks, it's a nice feeling, isn't it? Having them in your hands. And can you feel there's a connection with your feet? So if you're like this, so come into this position, can you feel here and then there? And that's what we want to feel, okay? Alright, so we'll swap it up. Now the other training tool I haven't shown you, I'm not fully sure about this yet, I don't use it that much, but this is called a cyclone ball. And once again it's a 1 kilo, so not too heavy. But for forehands and that I don't mind it because it brings that left arm across again. And I could just be doing, again, this action. But if you got to the courts early and did 15 or something of those each side, even if you've got a single-handed backhand, it doesn't matter, it's still helpful. And then you pick your racket up and you start hitting cross-court, what do you reckon you'll get?
The racket's like light.
Yeah, big racket head speed, which means the opportunity for big revolutions on the ball, good margin over the net. Then it's just important to get your setup right so that, and if you're working with someone, you might want to, share these ideas, but then you both know what you're working on. You want him to hit the ball hard, heavy and high, and you're both working on that. And it's good fun too. Alright, so